Okay, this is module 5. We're going to look at symbols, motion tweening, and shape tweening. And what I've done for the bouncy ball is I've imported into the library already a template. So I'm just going to drag that onto the stage and get rid of that. And with the select tool, I'm just going to move this so that it fits onto the stage nicely. Well, as much as we can get it on there. Okay, that's good enough. Actually, I might move that down a bit more. Okay, it's good. So this comes from the Angry Animator, who does some great stuff. But there's loads of templates out there that you can get. So we're going to put this on our first layer, and we'll just call this background. And it'll just provide us with a template to follow. Okay, so we're going to add another layer, and this is where we're going to put our balls. Okay, now with the bouncy ball, the whole principle is about squash and stretch, which is a physics principle. And the ball, when it's in midair, it's at the apex, and there's no gravitational pull well, there is gravitational pull, but it's at the apex, so it's still round. There's not a lot of forces acting on it. And then when it starts to drop, it's going to squash, and as it moves down, when it's dropping down, it's a little bit quick. And then we could put a timing chart on this. I'll include a timing chart in your module 5. You might want to play with that, but just for simplicity, we'll use this one today. So when it falls, it squashes. When it starts going back up, it stretches, which isn't illustrated here, but we're going to put it in. Gets to the apex, becomes round, sort of stays round until it starts stretching again, and then it squashes, and so on and so forth. So we'll do a couple of these. So on our new layer here, our timeline, and we'll stick this guy up here. We're going to be working on this layer. Okay, and we're going to lock this, but we're going to keep this so that we can see it, obviously. Okay, so our first layer, we're going to put in a whole bunch of blank keyframes. So we're going to function F7, and we're going to fill them up with symbols. Okay. All right, so we'll go to our oval tool, and for our first ball, we'll put pink, but I'd like to make them look like a nice round sphere. So we can go down here, we can make a nice red one, and go to our paint bucket, and it's a nice red one. We can change the where it highlights on here as well in the swatches panel, or maybe it's in properties. Yep, so we can change the width of the line, the stroke, and all right, so the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make it into a symbol so that we don't have to keep doing frame by frame animation. We'll go back here. That's where I want. Oop. Okay, we're going to copy that. In fact, we're going to do this. Go right back here and paste it in. Grab our selection tool, move him up here. But I'm also going to use our free transform tool, and I'm going to convert to a symbol. So that's a function F8. And I'll call this red ball 1. And because it's going to be an animation, we'll make it into a movie clip. The movie clips are much more powerful to use. Okay, so and then what we should see in here is that it's made a symbol of our red ball. And that key there means that it's a movie clip. Alright, so if we want to now make a squashed ball, we could go to the next keyframe. We're going to fill things in with frames, by the way, so it's going to create more duration with our F5 or our frame button. I could go to the library again. I can move this ball in and I can squash him because it's a symbol, it's already made, saves on space and time. We'll stick him in there. So he's on the next frame. Okay, then we can go up to the next frame and we're going to put in another ball. And we don't, because it's at the apex, we don't have to squash or stretch it. Okay, we can go to the next ball. And there's lots of different ways you can do this. I'm just showing you one particular way. Now, we could also save this as a squashed red ball and put it in our library. Okay, so that's going in. What have I just done? Okay, we want to get rid of that. We want to go to our next frame. Okay. Okay, it's probably a bit big, but okay, so I might go I might select this, and it's already a symbol, but it's not a squash symbol, so we'll put in a squash ball, movie clip, and it should go to our library. Okay, so we now have a movie clip, squash ball, and a red ball. Okay, so the other thing that we don't have in here yet is the stretch. So we've got a red ball here, squash, and a normal ball, red ball, and a squash. So in between these layers, I'm going to give it some duration. So I'm going to go function F5 if you're on a Mac, or Shift F5 if you're on a PC. I'll give this one a bit of duration. All right, and the duration also, if you get more technical, it'll speed up during some processes of the dropping of the ball, and it'll slow down. So there's a slow in, slow out, which is another principle of animation. Okay, so if I now scrub over this, I've got a real basic animation. Okay, now we don't see the background template anymore, and that's because we've only put the template to this level. So this is where it finishes. So let's add some more frames so we get our template back. Okay, all right, so so that's the basics of it. What I'd like you to do is try and make some symbols. Try and make a stretch in here. So actually let's just do that while. Okay, so here's a stretch, but what I'm going to do is rotate it around. Okay, so that it's stretching here. Okay, so that's on that layer. Oh, hang on, I should really put it on. Let's add a blank keyframe in here. No, let's do it one before. Add a blank keyframe here. Oh, we get to here, and this is where I want to put my stretch. Okay, so what I'd like you to do is, in between what we've just created, put some stretch balls in, so it'll stretch also when it goes back up, it'll stretch when it's coming down. There's a few more balls at the apex because it's slowing down in here, so they would be round. Let's just see what this looks like. Oh, okay, we've got to make sure that's all the way over. Okay, so it's stretching on the first one. So if we get more of the red balls in there, you can even change the color. That'll be your activity for this week. See how you go. Okay, we're going to go on to motion paths and shape paths in the next clip.